Hi, welcome to episode 440 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kira on Twitter and Instagram. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, which is where this episode and every episode show notes will be. And I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea, where I sell my handspun yarn and knitting patterns. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, September 11th, which of course is always a solemn anniversary in the United States. And it is kind of a gloomy, rainy day here in Kansas City, and I am fine with that. We could use the rain, and it's kind of a nice break. It actually has been lovely for the past few days, so I will take a day of some sprinkle and showers and use it sort of as a regrouping. So I hope that you are doing well. I hope you've had some time for crafting. When I went to pull together everything that I wanted to talk about this week, I realized that I didn't actually get that much done to show you. So I have a variety of things that I will show you, nothing super exciting, and hopefully by next week I'll have more in progress that I can share with you. I feel especially light on the knitting side. So let's dive right in. I am drinking today a mix of teas. So I went to some David's teas that I had in my stash and realized that I had like just a little bit of a couple different teas and not enough really to make one full cup. And I really didn't want to throw it away. I wanted to use it. So I combined David's coconut black tea with a s'mores chai, which I know sounds like a lot of flavors at once, but it's a little chocolate, a little coconut, and a little bit of chai, so a little bit of spicy warmth. And I added just a little bit of creamer to that, and it is lovely, and I am drinking it in my, oops, wrong side, in my roastery enamel mug, which keeps my beverages really nice and hot. Roastery is a local coffee place here, but I am drinking tea today, and it is just delicious. I combined it and had a cup earlier, and so now this is my second cup, but it is lovely. And it is quite warm, but something about the chocolate and the chai and the coconut and a little bit of cream, and it really tastes delicious. So maybe I'm learning to like milk in my tea, even though what I'm really doing is, well, technically non-dairy creamer. So, but it is nice and warm, and like I said, it's a little bit gloomy outside, and it's been sort of sprinkling on and off. I wouldn't say we're getting any heavy rain today. So I hope that you are doing well. Like I said, I don't have a lot to show you this week. I wish I had more, and I kind of was trying to figure out where things were going, and it's a combination of two things. One is that I have been working on a variety of chickens. In the last 2 weeks, I've worked on 3 chickens. So I've had lots and lots of chicken yarn going in and out, and a lot of it has been in not very interesting colors like white or black. And so I haven't brought a lot of that to show you. And then the second bit is that I just haven't been super motivated to knit in the last week or two. And so I've been spending a lot more time reading books, listening to books. I've been spending a little time sewing, so I just don't have a ton of progress. So let's talk about what I do have on the needles. I talked about how I really needed to get into sock knitting, and I still do, and I've done a little bit. So I went ahead and cast on a sock for my nephew. He told me he really, really, really wanted pink socks, and so I bought this skein of Ba La Jolla, and it is kind of a combination of pinks, a little bit of reds, a little bit of corals, and then it's got a few other colors in there like blue and orange and a couple other speckles in there. So it's like mostly a pink skein, but with a little bit of interest, which I think is quite nice. And I started a sock for him this week, and I got through the cuff, and then I got through the heel turn and the gusset, and so I am now on the foot, and that is at the point that I called my sister and said, hey, can you trace the kids' feet and tell me how long their feet are from like the back of their heel to the tip of their big toe? And she said, I'm out of town, I'll try and do it this week. So I could knit a little bit further, but I'm waiting on hold a little bit to see how long the kids' feet are. Basically, the way I do their socks is every year I move up 2 to 4 stitches in the circumference, which completely handles their circumference, and which completely handles any growth in that area, because their feet grow longer more than they grow wider. And so I am currently working on a 52 stitch sock on size 0s, and it is just a real plain sock. So I did a 2x2 rib up at the top. Sorry, the tail is still there. I haven't woven in the ends. And then then, like I said, it just gives this really nice kind of pink cherry with a bunch of other colors in there, and I really like it. And then, like I said, I did a slip stitch heel flap and just a standard gusset. And then I will just work down the foot and make the foot, you know, the foot, the length of the foot a little bit less than the length of their foot right now, and then get the toe in there. So these are just simple socks, and if they're a little big on the kids, I don't think they're terrible. I don't end up worrying about too much negative ease, and the kids outgrow these fairly fast, so they don't last that long. This is 100% superwash merino by La Jolla, which is an indie dyer out in California. And while I don't know if I would use them for socks for myself, because I usually like a little bit of nylon in my socks, I think these will be fine for them. It's superwash. They will machine wash them, and even though I don't always do that with my socks, I expect my sister to, because with 2 small kids, it's just too much. So this is the first pair of socks, and hopefully by next week I will have a foot length so I can finish this first one and get started on the second one. But I don't feel like a tiny kid sock is that much work, and I only got half of it done. So yeah, but these are the colors, and I really, really like it. I hope he will. He has just gotten interested in pink, and so pink socks are certainly something I can do. I also have some teal, which I will start for her next, and so I will just move through these socks for a while. Each of the kids will probably get 2 pairs of socks, and then my mom would like a pair of socks, and then I also have some hats to knit. So that's kind of what I'll be doing on the personal side for the next month or two, and it means that Socktober should be really full of socks. So, and I am using I use this, oops, I dropped a needle. The fifth one, the one that wasn't in the stitches. I use this bag year round because I like it and it's so cute, but of course it is the perfect time of year to use this bag. This is my, it's from what used to be the Kicks and Giggles shop. I don't think she's open anymore, but it is these cute little witches for Halloween, and I always love using this bag at this time of year. And like I said, I use it year round anyway, but she's just so cute and fun and Halloween. So, yeah. So the other thing I thought I would bring and show you is the newest chicken that I'm working on, because it's not black and white. It is kind of gold and tan, and it's really pretty, and I am doing loop stitch for this one, which kind of emulates chicken feathers. And so I have a whole bunch of squares. That's what I was doing all day yesterday, was just knitting the squares and other small pieces, little rectangular pieces. And so I just keep knitting these, and the yarn just keeps going away. And so I will be bringing this back to them this week. So that is what I've been working on, but I have a bunch of pieces. I just have 3 here, but I have a bunch. And I still have more to knit. It's about 800 yards of yarn, and of course the loop uses up quite a bit of yarn, but there still is a lot to knit. So that is the other knitting progress that I have made. The other thing that showed up this week that I didn't have time to get into is the yarn arrived for the baby blanket that I would like to do. And I talked about this a little bit last week. I need to knit up a sample to see what I think, and then make some estimates about how many stitches I'm going to cast on. I actually put together my own chart based on kind of a pattern that I wanted to see, and I have some ideas. I think I'm going to do an I-cord edge, and so what I really need to do is sit down and do a little swatch of like 1 motif or 2 of the pattern repeat, just to see what it's going to look like. But I wanted to show you the yarn came for that, and I decided to use Malabrigo Rios in the colorway Blue Jean, and this is what it looks like. So it is it's a blue. It's almost got a little bit of periwinkle in it, and because it's not entirely indigo. It's much more, I don't even know what to say. It's not as navy as all of that, but I really, really like these colors. They just, this was what I envisioned it in. So my plan is to actually use some scraps from the leftover kids sweaters, because I used Rios for those, to do my swatch in, so that I have plenty to do the blanket in. I ordered 4 skeins of this, which I might have ordered 5 skeins. I think I ordered 5 skeins, which gives me a little over 1,000 yards, which should be a nice sized baby blanket. So my plan is to knit the swatch this week and then cast on for this one. So hopefully I will have a little bit to show you for this next week, but I will have a swatch to show you kind of what my idea is for the blanket. So, and that will be a pattern that will be forthcoming this fall once I knit the blanket once or twice and decide exactly what I want to do with it. I will have it tech edited. I don't know whether I'll have it test knit because it's going to be a pretty simple, it's just going to be stockinette and reverse stockinette with an I-cord edging, and I feel like if I knit through it once or twice, it probably doesn't need a whole bunch of test knitters, but I will have it tech edited so that someone will have taken a look at it. So that is what's upcoming. I also got the USPS notice that I was receiving another shipment for a sample, and so that is something that I will be working on in the next few weeks, and I will definitely need to swatch for that. This time I am doing a colorwork sweater, and I cannot remember, oh, it is called Antique Flora, and it is a design by Wool and Pine, and it is a top-down yoked in the round sweater with a really intricate kind of floral design for the entire yoke, and like right to where you add the sleeves, and so it seems like all the hard work and the points of interest will come at the beginning because it's top down, and then the rest will just be kind of a little bit of a stockinette slog, but it is beautiful, and I can't wait to see the colors that they're going to send me. I know we're doing it in teals, so I don't know what they're going to send me as the contrast for the colorwork section, but I do know that the sweater itself is going to be in a dark teal, which is totally my colors, although I'm knitting it in a different size to fit someone else. So so it won't fit me. I'm knitting it slightly smaller, but yeah, so that's, I don't know if I found more knitting mojo, but I do have projects that need to get worked on, and so that will keep me going until my mojo comes back. The other thing that the other pattern that I found this week is Noriko Chan. I think she goes by Nori Chan or Nori Chan Knits. She designed a really cute tank top, or it has optional, you can sort of do like a little cap sleeve flutter, and it is called the applesauce top. I think because the way the pattern looks, the front crosses, it's like a crossover top with a v-neck, a little bit like a wrap top, and it's probably for crisscross applesauce, but I don't know for sure. Anyway, it was very funny. I went to the local yarn store this weekend, or on Friday, because I happened to be in the area. And when I say that I actually am not lying, I'm not lying. The chicken store is actually where I deliver all of my chicken supplies. The art studio is just 1 block up from the yarn store. So I went into the yarn store and I had just seen this top, and the top is done. The pattern photos are in a really stunning dark gray and then kind of a pink or lavender splatter or speckle dye. And I was like, you know, I'm sure I have a light and a speckle dye at home, but I don't know if I have a dark. And because the top kind of crosses, and then in the back it's all striped, I wanted like real contrast. So I went into the yarn store to see if I could find something dark. I didn't find anything I wanted. And my yarn store is fabulous. It's nothing about my yarn store. It's just that like nothing screamed take me home. And I have so much yarn that I was like, well, if it's not screaming, I really shouldn't. So now I need to dump out all my bins and see if I have something at home. Or the Kansas City Yarn Crawl is this coming weekend, so I might find something at one of the other shops. But I was so shocked. I came home and my husband was like, you didn't buy any yarn? And I said, no. And he was like, should you take a COVID test? Are you sure you're feeling all right? So, yeah. So, that's the other one that kind of has my mojo stirring a little bit, although pretty soon it's going to be fall. So, still waiting for that fall mojo. So let's talk about let's talk about sewing real fast, and then we'll talk about spinning. I don't have a ton to show you for either of these, but I have a few things. So, last week I told you that I was getting ready to start on a new sewing project, and I wanted to make a jelly roll rug. And so I brought today for you the pattern. This is called the Jelly Roll Rug by RJ Designs, and as you can see, it is an oval shaped rug, and it is made from jelly roll fabric strips, and you add a little bit of batting in there and sew them up, sew them into tubes, and then just kind of start coiling it around. So there are two things that I am using for this. One is Missouri Star Quilt Co. Jenny Jenny Doan, who is kind of the face and voice of Missouri Star. She has a tutorial using this pattern, how to make a jelly roll rug. And then the other thing that I did was I joined a Facebook group class, which is, it's a virtual class, and the teacher is she basically does jelly roll rugs. She sells them, she teaches classes on how to make them, and I came across her in my travels kind of across Instagram and tutorials, and she has done a ton. And so the way she organizes her class is that you pay $10 and you get to be in the class for a month, which is a private Facebook group with only your other class attendees, and she has pre-taped videos for all the steps of making the jelly roll rug, and then you can post and share and ask questions, and you have access to her for that entire month. So she teaches basically from this pattern, and so I have found it really informative. I watched her first 2 videos and did the first few steps this weekend, and so now I need to watch more videos so I can do more this coming weekend. But so what I have right now looks like this, which I know is not super impressive and a lot of threads. I was a little surprised by that, but I think it'll be fine once I start sewing these together. So what I used is I have been using a jelly roll, and a jelly roll is a type of pre-cut fabric. So you can, the most typical way that fabric is sold, well, okay, originally the most typical way that fabric is sold is by the yard. So you go in and you buy it by the yard or by the half yard, or if you've ever gone to Joann's, you know that you can ask sort of for almost anything. I think really the smallest that people would go is like 1/8 of a yard, so you can ask for proportions as well. Some shops online don't let you do proportions, and I know based on my previous work at Stitchcraft Marketing that there are not a lot of systems that will allow you to do partial units, because usually when you're doing inventory, you're selling whole units, like you're not selling half of a product. And so some stores only sell by the yard rather than by the half yard or whatever else, because they don't have that component in their shop. There are a few point of sale systems that do that, but a lot of companies just make it simple and sell by the yard. Anyway, the other thing that has become very popular, particularly in recent years, is pre-cut fabrics, which are fabrics that have been cut to a certain size and dimension. And often what will happen is in pre-cuts, you'll get 40 or 42 pieces within the package. And the package can be anything from really small 2.5-inch squares to 5-inch squares to 10-inch squares to jelly roll strips, which are 2.5 inches width, 2.5 inches width, and then the length is the width of fabric, which is usually between 40 and 44 inches on a bolt. And so you can get a variety of things. Like I said, these are called jelly rolls, 5-inch squares are called charm packs, 10-inch squares are called layer cakes. There's all kinds of terminology. But so what I did is I bought a jelly roll in purples. And what this is from Wilmington Fabrics, and it's their Essentials line, which means they're kind of available year-round. Most fabric runs are temporal. Like a designer designs a collection and it is available until the fabric sells out, and then usually it is not reprinted and they move on with new collections each year. So it's all cotton fabric, so anytime mostly quilters use 100% cotton fabric. So every year fabric lines are coming out with new fabrics, and a lot of fabric lines do have, for instance, lines of solid fabrics that are the same from year to year in the same dye lots. But basically this pack is kind of, basically it was a whole bunch of different purple fabrics that are from a variety of their collections. And so it spans from like a really, really light lavender in the center all the way out to a really dark purple. And they've got all kinds of patterns in here. I'm not going to unroll this, at least not all the way. There's like splotchy stuff, there's speckle stuff, there's stuff with bubbles, there's stuff with a little bit of floral on it. It's like all different fabrics. And basically the first couple steps were to sew this end to end so that the fabric is basically ready to assemble into the rug. So what I did is I took all these 40-inch strips of fabric, and this is where I will unravel it just a little bit. and I sewed them together end to end. And the way we did kind of an angled join, a bias, the fabric is not cut on the bias, but we did kind of a bias join so that it would look nice together. So basically I took all of my 40 to 44 inch strips and I sewed them together, and then what I did is I joined on the angle. You can see my seam there where I joined my two pieces on the angle. So I sewed them together like this. Actually, technically I sewed them together like this, and there was another, there was a triangle there that I cut off when I trimmed close to my seam. So this is, this whole roll is all these pieces sewn end to end, and now I am ready to start my next section. And that is what I will be doing this weekend. I need to watch more tutorials. I believe the next thing that I will be doing is sewing these strips into a tube. So basically folding them in half, although I think the way we're gonna do this is we're gonna fold both pieces towards the center. I'm not 100% sure, so don't take my word for it. I think what we're gonna be doing is folding it like this, so that both pieces fold in towards the center and then sewing down that line. So I have a tube of fabric with my finished ends kind of towards the inside, and then I will also be adding batting in there. But don't quote me on that. I will share where I get with it next weekend, and then and as I follow through the steps, and I will share it with you as I go. So that is what I'm working on in terms of sewing, and I will put a link to the fabric and the pattern and the tutorials that I'm using in the show notes. So if there's anything that you are interested in doing, you can join me there. So hold on 2 seconds. Okay, so let's talk about spinning. The first thing is that I did finish that spin. I can't remember where I was. I think I showed you the 2 bobbins and that they needed to be spun together. I might have shown you a bobbin. I can't remember. I think I showed you the 2 bobbins and they needed to be plied. And so this is finished now, and this is 386 yards of a really, really squishy 70s merino, which is a soft merino, very, very next to the skin soft, not super wash, but you could use it for socks or something else fun, and it is all kinds of fun fall colors. It's got golds and browns and purples, and I really, really like this. It came out very kind of purple pinky with a lot of gold in there. And so I'm really, really happy about this one. This one actually has been washed and dried, and I've taken length and weight and everything. And so by the time you watch this, I hopefully will have this in the shop. It's on the list to get in there today. If it looks like something you'd like to play with for fall, again, it is 386 yards, and I would say it is definitely a sport weight because it's got some really puffy sections in here, but it's super squishy and nice and springy, and I really, really like it. So I will go ahead and put that up in the shop later this morning. So last week I showed you a really fun bright braid, and then I told you I might have to spin some more boring stuff, and the truth is I did have to spin more boring stuff. So I spun 2 more bobbins of white chicken yarn last night, and I need to take these off and wash these. But now I will get into the fun. So just as a brief recap, I'm going to be spinning this bright fun braid from Knitty and Color, and it is like all neon colors and black, and I'm really excited about it. It will not be done by the time I talk to you next week because I won't get started on this till tomorrow or Wednesday probably, and so I will be working on this, and this will also be ready for the shop, but I will show you my progress when I talk to you next week. So I think that's it for now. Like I said, I don't have a huge ton of Crafting Mojo, but I'm trying to do a little bit here and there and just keep going until my motivation hits again. And maybe with this nice, gloomy, rainy day, I will get into a fall mood. I do think that temperatures are supposed to be cooler this week. I don't think we're supposed to be over 80 any day this week, which is really nice. I don't think we're done with the heat yet, but it does mean that we're kind of moving towards fall, and I will always, always take that. Fall is one of my favorite seasons. I didn't grow up celebrating fall or autumn in an area where the leaves changed colors on the trees and we got like good crisp weather and rainy days. But I do love it, and I will I'm usually good with cold weather and even a little bit of snow up until Christmas. We don't generally tend to get snow until November or December, but I'm just excited for fall, although it's going to be busy and crazy. But I am excited, and I'm waiting for my mojo to kick in because I really just want to stay up half the night knitting, and I just haven't been doing that. So I hope that you have a wonderful day, week ahead until I see you again, and that you have some crafty mojo, that you're staying healthy, and I will say until I see you next time, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sewing, and happy sipping. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.